Good Thursday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. Thank you kindly for joining us. It's a pleasure to connect with you through the network. We have a Charlottesville, Central Virginia, Commonwealth, country, and worldwide audience at our disposal as we stream this show to every social media platform known to mankind. It's long-form content where you, the viewer and listener, can help shape the discussion by offering your thoughts, your comments, your perspective in the comment section of any of the social platforms you're watching the show upon. And Judah Wickower and I will relay the thoughts on air. Judah Wickower is the director. Let's go to the two-shot, Judah, if we could, and wave and say hello to your thousands of adoring fans. First, good afternoon. Second, good to see you after a fantastic interview yesterday with Sean Simmons, the CEO and founder of Greenberry's Coffee. I was struck in yesterday's interview. And for those that are watching in the show, you can catch yesterday's interview wherever you get your podcasts. The show's archived on ilovecville.com. This is what struck me of the Greenberry's interview yesterday. It's the longest-running coffee roaster in Central Virginia, Charlottesville's longest-running coffee brand. He's the founder and CEO. He started the company with his beautiful wife, Roxanne. When they launched the company in 1992 in Barracks Road next to Staples Barbershop, they were told by many in the community that a business that strictly sold elevated or boutique coffee would never make it. Within the first year, he had to change the hinges on the front door of the shop twice because so many customers were going in and out of the location. And now Judah, a vertically integrated behemoth with locations in Japan, Saudi Arabia, up and down the eastern seaboard. He roasts his own coffee. Yep. He's got nitro coffee sold in convenience stores. I mean, darn, this is as big a success story in Charlottesville and Central Virginia as any, if you think about it.
Yeah. What other name brands are coming out of Charlottesville and spreading their brand across the world? Yeah,
to Japan, to Saudi Arabia, and he's looking to expand across the pond into Europe as well. I mean, this is a success story. And they've made it through the pandemic, and I was really impressed with his straightforwardness when he talked about the PPP money, that it was incredibly beneficial. He talked about furloughing 90% of his staff. I mean, as a CEO of a local business, I mean, it's one thing if you're Zuckerberg, it's one thing if you're like Elon Musk or Jamie Dimon, the finance wizard. Furloughing staff when you don't know them and you're a Fortune 100, 200, 300, 500 company, I would imagine it's going to be a tad easier than furloughing the people that you're interacting with in person, hand-delivering paychecks in person, and seeing them in the hallway of the headquarters of the shop that you're working in.
Definitely.
And that's what he did. I mean, that's what he did. The Greenberry's interview, guys, was fantastic. Your opportunity to become an owner of Greenberry's through startengine.com/coffee. So some topics I want to cover on today's show. Lloyd Snook, the mayor of the city of Charlottesville, friend of the program, his firm, law firm, about 20, do we agree on a distance? Our studio to Mayor Snook's law firm, how many feet do you say that is? 50? We're 50 feet away?
Yeah, it's within 50 feet.
50 feet, his law firm. He says that there's going to be no August 12th Unity Days party plans for A12 in this community. He attributes it to a lack of staff, a lack of planning, a lack of security, and COVID in this community. So the party called Unity Days is not going to happen. It's the five-year anniversary of A12. Earlier in the week, I posed this question to everyone after having the question posed to me by the Queen of Jack Jewett, Carol Thorpe. Why have we not heard a plan of safety from our local officials for the 5-year anniversary of August 12th, 2017? We are now, my friends, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 days. That's 3 weeks from the darkest, most infamous day in Charlottesville history.
I wouldn't say the darkest.
You would say there was a day darker than 8/12?
I would say when Vinegar Hill got raised, that was certainly darker than what, I mean, it was
I'll give you that.
3 people died, still tragically, on August 12th, but
I'll give you that. Do you agree with Judah? I'm going to agree with Judah there. Vinegar Hill, when the black neighborhood, African-American neighborhood, Vinegar Hill, see if you can pull up the Wikipedia page for Vinegar Hill. It might be on CVillepedia. If you just Google Vinegar Hill, you could relay some facts to us if you could. What is the in your opinion, what is a darker, more infamous, more nasty to the history and legacy, reputation, the brand that is Charlottesville day? 8/12/2017, or when Vinegar Hill was razed and destroyed in the era, in the idea of urban renewal, a neighborhood of black businesses, homes, and churches destroyed by Staples Office Supply, where Staples Office Supply is currently located, where Laura Fonder's restaurant is currently located. That day, I would say, I would agree with you. You got some facts for us on that? Give us some facts.
In 1960, Charlottesville voters approved a referendum authorizing the redevelopment. Unfortunately, a poll tax prevented many of the neighborhood's residents from participating in the vote. Let's see, I think I need to turn...
In 1965, the entire neighborhood was razed as part of urban renewal, Vinegar Hill. The plan was initiated in the 50s. By a margin of 36 votes, the city of Charlottesville voted to destroy Vinegar Hill in a referendum. 36 votes was the margin that determined Charlottesville's black neighborhood's destruction. That's crazy.
500 displaced residents, and a lot of them ended up having to move into a public housing project. 1
church, 30 businesses, and 158 families were displaced, almost all African Americans.
Yeah.
Many of them were moved to the West Haven public housing complex. Families who had lived in standalone, single-family detached houses now resided in multi-family complexes called public housing, Judah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would say this hands down beats August 12th.
This beats August 12th. August 12th does not compare to this.
No, not even close.
This August 12th, 2017 will characterize as safely in the top 5. Why Vinegar Hill does not get more attention, I think because of the time it happened, where media, in particular social media, was not relevant or did not exist.
It's also 60 years past, so it's certainly not
Time heals.
fresh. No, I wouldn't say that. I would say it's just not fresh in our collective consciousness.
Well said. That's
And
better
it's
than
also-
time heals.
And it's also less personally impactful to most of us.
Yeah. Well, those of us who are not in the family lineage of the 500 or 600 people that had their houses and businesses destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, because those 500 or 600 people that had their houses and businesses and their church destroyed in Vinegar Hill, that's tangibly some of the stuff that would be passed down to the next generation and the generation after that. And the generation after that, 2 generations removed, is the people living in Charlottesville now.
Yeah, we don't know how many of them still live here, but how big a proportion of the population is that?
How big of the population in Charlottesville, how many people would still be living here if Vinegar Hill was not destroyed?
And even among the people that are descended from those, or people that are still here from that time, I would imagine that the wound is, even if not healed, is certainly a more distant pain.
Yeah, I think you're on point. I think your commentary is 100% on point with what you're saying today. Yeah. Is it odd to you? Do you find it odd that Vinegar Hill and the destruction of this black neighborhood is not more memorialized or commemorized? What's the word?
Memorialized, commemorated.
Commemorated? I mean, why is there not? I mean, think about it. What highlights the history of this in this community? You go to Tavern and Grocery. You know Tavern and Grocery? We created that logo. Annie McClure once owned it. Now Ashley Sieg owns Tavern and Grocery. Also Lost Saint, the cocktail bar in the basement. It was Inge's grocery store. There's a plaque on the side of Tavern and Grocery, a landmark plaque that memorializes a black grocery store. But if you guys think about this, and this is a good topic. Neither Judah nor I planned for this to be the topic of today's show. Just shows you the beautiful nature of long-form content, that we can go in any direction we want. I would say Charlottesville prides itself in history. We're home to Thomas Jefferson, Monticello, the University of Virginia. When a community is such rich in presidential and U.S. history, you can say the community prides itself in memorializing things and recognizing events from the past. Does it not surprise and/or shock you that the destruction of a black neighborhood in 1965, I mean, we're talking 35, 57 years ago, is not really a blip on any historical radar in Charlottesville?
It does surprise me.
Can you think of any place that's memorialized?
You're asking the wrong person.
Any viewer and listener, is Vinegar Hill memorialized in any capacity in Charlottesville in a yearly basis?
Besides the name of a theater?
Besides the name of a theater? I mean, is that the extent of the memorialization?
That's all that I know about.
That's what I'm saying. Are people not surprised by this?
I'm a little surprised, but it requires somebody to actively seek out something. It requires an artist or artists to actively create something. And I would imagine it requires city council's approval for all of that. Not to mention you need a space for it and someone to pay for it.
I mean, we want to highlight, we want to create a foundation for diversity, inclusion, equity, and racial fairness and parity. We're committed to doing this. At least on paper, the city's committed to doing this. Yet, there's no initiative put in play by the city for the 5-year anniversary of 8/12. There's no initiative put in play from the city explaining any kind of security measures on the 5-year anniversary of 8/12. No Unity Days celebration for the 5-year anniversary of 8/12. And there's no recognition of the Vinegar Hill destruction from 50 plus years ago. It's one thing to talk the talk, and it's another thing to walk the walk. Are they walking the walk?
I don't think that's for us to decide. I mean, I know, are you speaking specifically about city council, or are you speaking about the Charlottesville in broader generality?
All the above, right? All the above. All the above.
I'm not really surprised. I mean, for most of us, our daily lives take
You're
up...
not surprised why?
Because for most of us, our daily lives take up our daily lives. We're not all activists who are...
I don't even think that's about activism.
Which part?
Memorializing Vinegar Hill. Or anniversary celebration of 8/12. I don't even think that's activism. I think that's synonymous or equivalent with the Dogwood Parade. I think it's synonymous.
What is the Dogwood Parade?
The Dogwood Parade is a parade that goes up and down Market Street right here,
Does
down onto Preston. Yeah, it's a fantastic parade.
I don't
I
think
watch it outside the studio.
ever seen it?
Well, on the weekend, you, my friend, enjoy sleeping in. When you have a 4-year-old like my wife and I, you wake up when the roosters wake, 5:30 in the morning. Our son, our 4-year-old, is essentially a rooster that wakes up when the sun rises. Saturday and Sunday, you like to wake up around what, lunchtime over there?
I go to church every Sunday morning, so. But I don't remember ever even hearing about a parade in Charlottesville.
There's a parade in Charlottesville every year. It's called the Dogwood Parade. It goes right down Market Street, right in front of our building, right here. You want to have a fantastic Dogwood Parade experience? You go to the second floor of our building here in the Macklin building. You stand on the balcony.
Is it just people walking?
There are floats. There are people walking.
Wow.
Fire trucks, police cars, kids on bicycles, people dressed up. It's a fantastic event.
Can't believe I've missed
It's
it
an
for
event.
20 years.
It's an event that resonates community spirit. And I don't think memorializing Vinegar Hill or memorializing August 12th or celebrating it through a Unity Days, inclusion, diversity, everybody welcome type of event, I don't think that's activism. I think that's just...
No, I didn't say it was activism.
I think it's just synonymous with the Dogwood Parade. Community spirit.
I didn't say it was activism. I just meant that most of us are more concerned with the goings on in our daily lives than we are in taking up the banner of a cause like Unity Day or creating some type of memorialization for Vinegar Hill. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's how we survive trauma.
Well, maybe we should change that. Maybe we should change that. I mean, at worst, I'd like to hear a plan of attack for safety. 22 days away from, Judah's made a good point, not the darkest day in community history. Vinegar Hill's destruction supersedes that, but one of the top 2 or 3. Something that had us in the global news cycle for, what, a week? I mean, we were in the global cycle for a week. Still, when you search Charlottesville, Virginia, it comes up.
Well, of course it comes up. It's not like Charlottesville gets international news stories about an awful lot.
I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, you Google Charlottesville, Virginia, and you still see the references to A12 in the Google images. And Charlottesville's done a really good job from a PR standpoint since A12 to try to push this content down. I mean, here's an image right here from ABC National that I'm looking at. Here's an image from the BBC on A12. Anywho, I'll get off my soapbox now. I'll close with this. Give us a plan for safety for A12. Just manage the perception and reassure your citizens and say, we'll have extra police officers on the beat around Emancipation Park, in vehicles, on rooftops, and shoe leather on the street. Not hard to do. Want to take it a step further? Kick $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. That's not a lot of money when your budget's $200 million to run the city of Charlottesville. Kick 50 G's for a party at the Ting Pavilion or at X Park for an inclusion event. Everyone in the community is welcome. A Unity Days event. And how about some memorialization for Vinegar Hill? You start...
Commission a statue from,
statue is such a divisive word in this community.
It doesn't have to be. It could be something beautiful.
Could be beautiful.
I mean, it would certainly be better than this other statue that they're planning on building.
What's that one?
I don't know. It's a group of people in a circle holding hands, and I think they're leaving.
Where are they building that?
Let's see. Where did I see that? It was something about it was basically just a group of people in a circle, and they were going to leave it open so that if you wanted to, you could come and hold hands with the statues. Lisa
Costello has a couple comments. She says, are the former residents and descendants asking for memorialization? No, not that I know of. She says, I definitely do not see the destruction of Vinegar Hill being swept under the rug. It is repeatedly talked about in public forums and media. Several books and many articles address it, and documentaries have been made out of it. What has the city done, though, Lisa? What has the city of Charlottesville done from a memorialization standpoint, from a contrition standpoint, from an apologetic standpoint, from a make things right standpoint?
Again, if nobody's calling for any of that, I don't know why that Charlottesville would.
I would
make a
imagine the
concerted-
African American community in the city of Charlottesville and the urban ring and in Albemarle County would like to call attention to what happened. I mean, I didn't know this. Did you know this? 36 votes determined the destruction of Vinegar Hill. It was a referendum, and that referendum passed by 36 votes. Think about that. That's the slimmest of margins.
And if they'd let the inhabitants, the people living there, have a vote, I'm sure it would have been voted down.
Right. Anywho, all right, next topic. This is one I found intriguing. What did you make of the topic? Jobless claims. These are people looking for unemployment money, filing for unemployment. Jobless claims for the week ending July 16th were up 7,000 from the previous week, with initial claims totaling 251,000 people. This is the highest weekly level of jobless claims, people filing for unemployment, since the middle of November of 2021. It's undoubtedly an indication that the labor market is the tight labor market is slowing, cooling, as employers struggle to pay employees asking for more and more money during inflationary periods. Dude, there's starting to be... What do you make of the jobless claims first? And then I'll give you my take. You go first.
I mean, I'm curious as to, so this is jobless claims across the entire United States?
Yes.
I mean, I'd love to have more statistics. Like, what is the percentage of jobless claims currently to actual workers in the market? Like, is that 10%? Is it 2%?
That's a tough number to tell.
It's like a rise of 7,000 doesn't seem like a very large number when you've got as many people in the United States as you do. But
Well, it's the highest level of jobless claims since November of last year. Total unemployed people in the United States right now estimated to be 5.9 million in June, and the unemployment rate in June was just under 4%. The amount of folks that are unemployed, or the unemployment rate, to put in perspective, in May of 2020, April of 2020 was 14%. So April 2020, this is pandemic. Pandemic hits in March.
yeah,
Basically 15%. That number has gone from 15% in April 2020 down to 3.6% today.
though I think everybody knows that number is lacking statistics.
Explain.
Well, I'm pretty sure it only takes into account people that are actively on the
That's correct.
the unemployment
It
rolls.
does not. It is not a good reflection of people who are underemployed, and
Or-
being underemployed.
Or women who have left the market to care for families.
Exactly.
Other things like that.
People who become entrepreneurs, got tired of frontline
Yeah.
work, and then went into business for themselves, maybe selling something on an Etsy. Someone who went from working 40 to 45 hours a week down to 20 hours a week at their employer does not count that person. It
Right.
doesn't count the person that had a job at 45 hours a week. Their employer said this job doesn't exist anymore. Then they go get 3 15-hour-a-week jobs for 3 different employers. That doesn't count that person. I'm across my fingers. I'm hesitant to even say this. I'm knocking on wood, and we've gone from an IKEA studio table to a very nice table here, so I can say I'm authentically knocking on wood now. Are you tired? You're yawning constantly here. That's very rude. Is there something I can do to help you? Would you like some caffeine?
Ooh, yeah, sure.
Would you like some Mountain Dew?
No.
Is there something you would rather talk about?
No.
Come on now. I mean, there's indications that inflation is cooling and this market is changing. Just like it changed on a dime in the beginning of this year. I mean, take real estate. You slap something on the MLS, and then by the end of the weekend you had 15 offers. Now that's not the case. The market changed on a dime. Is the market changing on a dime right now? Commodities are dropping. Gas, there's gas below $4 in this area.
I know. The last time I got gas, in fact, just the other day, it was, I think it was around, I can't remember if it was in the 380s or the 390s, but it was definitely below $4.
They're saying Labor Day is going to be the lowest cost gas in years for this country.
In years?
In years, because demand is so low for travel that gas on Labor Day is going to be some of the most affordable gas. Now, nothing is going to be lower than Labor Day of 2020 during the pandemic. I mean, you could buy barrels of WTI. Mm-hmm. They were paying you to take barrels of WTI away from them. It was a barrel of oil was negative value. Yeah. Nothing's going to beat that.
That's insanity.
But are we plateauing? I mean, is there a change here? Has anyone noticed the markets? The Dow, the Nasdaq, the S&P? They've held steady over 5-8 trading days. A lot of green has been on the board over the last week and change. A lot of commodities are dropping in price. Are we turning a corner? I mean, you got oil futures down 20%. You got gasoline currently below $4. I made this point earlier in the week. 17 gallons in my tank of gas. I fill up my tank of gas 6 times a month. 17 times 6. 102 gallons I put in my Explorer a month. If gas drops $1, that's an extra $102 I have a month. An extra $102 a month times 12 months is $1,224 a year. You're talking $1,000+ extra just for gas dropping $1.
Yeah.
That's significant.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if gas drops $1.50. I mean, $1.50 times 17 times 6. 17 times 6 is 102 times $1.50. You have $153 of savings just for doing absolutely nothing. Changing no aspect of your life. You got an extra $1,800 a year in your pocket. Looks to be turning to me.
It would be nice if it was.
What's that? You disagree though, don't you?
It's not that I disagree. It's that I don't feel like they've solved the problem. And if you're just, if you're just slapping a little Band-Aid on it, I'm sorry, but I don't see. It would be great if the Fed didn't have to do anything and it just fixed itself. But I don't think. I think that the issue is deeper and more ingrained than just the economy is just going to turn around on, like you said, on a dime and be fixed and everything's going to be okay. I mean, so much that has led to where we are now, and I don't think they stuck the soft landing this soon and this easily.
Well, time will tell. The thing that Joe Biden has COVID, for those that are watching the program. Joe Biden has tested positive for COVID-19, the president of our country. The thing that I'm nervous about, one of the things I'm nervous about, is the automated nature of so many entry-level positions. We've been talking about this and covering it well on the show. I'm going to give you Chipotle, for example. Chipotle now has robots making and seasoning their chips. The chips that you eat at Chipotle are made and seasoned by robots. Chipotle just invested in a company, another company, that does automated, portion-controlled, how do I put this? A robotic, innovative, automated company, technology company, that uses robots to serve food in portion-controlled scenarios. You program the robot, you say, this is how you make a burrito bowl, and the robot can go down the line and make the burrito bowl for you. Or it can determine how much pork asado or carnitas or beef goes in your tacos, or in the individual ramekins on the line for the people to serve. I am very concerned, especially as a father of a 4-year-old. COVID showed the vulnerable nature of relying on human capital, especially during a pandemic. People didn't want to go to work during a pandemic, in particular in restaurants, F&B, hospitality, music.
I think that was far less an issue than the government telling people that they couldn't work.
Okay, I agree with that. And then the government incentivizing to stay home by giving them money to stay home.
I wouldn't say incentivizing.
Paying them to stay home.
Well, I wouldn't say paying them to stay home either.
They got money from the government not to go to work.
They didn't get enough. They didn't get as much as they would have made if they were working.
Of course not. And we said that all along on this show. We said this all along on this show. The people that aren't going to work, that are staying at home, you're only screwing yourself and shooting yourself in the foot in the end. We said it all along on this show that that was going to happen. And that's what happened. The rich got richer, the poor got poor. That's what happened. 100% what happened. I'm nervous that the employers are going to be like, I can't rely on, Joe Schmo or Betty Schmo to run my QSR restaurant. I'm just going to invest in the robots, take these jobs away, and then this entry-level position, and then the promotion right above it, the shift supervisor. Is there going to be a shift supervisor of robots? If you're Chipotle and you have a line of ingredients, you've been in Chipotle.
I don't know if I actually have been.
You've never been to Chipotle?
I don't know if I have. If I had, it's been years.
You've never been to the Dogwood Parade or Chipotle?
The Dogwood Parade is a part of Charlottesville, so I'm sorry I've missed that. I don't know that Chipotle is an integral part of Charlottesville, and I'm not going to apologize for.
I'm not saying Chipotle is an integral part of Charlottesville, but I think a lot of people have been in Chipotle.
Yeah, a lot of people have.
Do you know the setup at Chipotle?
I know the basics, yeah.
You go through a line.
Yeah,
you say, give me 3 tacos, and they have the food and the ingredients, and they put it in the tacos in front of you.
Yeah, I want
then you
some
go to
of
the
this,
register.
I want some of that.
Yeah.
I want some of those.
Give me a scotch of this, a little dab of that,
Yeah.
a little smidge of this, a little pinch of that, a little glomp of this, a little doodaddle of that. And then you get your tacos. But is Chipotle going to need a shift supervisor if the folks on the line are robots?
It's certainly going to need someone that knows how to fix robots.
So you see what I'm saying? The entry-level position at Chipotle is working the line, stuffing the tacos with ingredients. If that position is cannibalized by robots because Chipotle realized it had exposure or vulnerability with human capital during a pandemic, and they said, now we're investing in companies that do portion-controlled serving, or making and seasoning of chips with robots, or making the tacos with the robots. The entry-level position is going to be cannibalized by innovation. The next level, the promotion from entry-level, shift supervisor, front desk supervisor. that position, is that going to be cannibalized because it's robots and not people? I mean, to your point, you're going to need someone to make sure they're programmed correctly.
And to fix them when they eventually break down.
I can't imagine the shift supervisor is going to be fixing the robots. I've got to think the robots are going to be under some kind of service warranty. Whoever you buy, whichever company you buy the robots from, is going to have some kind of service warranty to service the robots. Just like if you get like a fridge.
I mean, that's a risky proposal.
Why?
If your business is based around these robots working and you have to be reliant on another company, I mean, that's...
How's that any different than the grocery store that relies on refrigerators to keep milk cold? Or ice cream frozen? Or the peas frozen?
But a refrigerator is not a moving robot.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, a refrigerator...
It has lights, and it has refrigeration, and it has doors. You're talking about something that's going to be moving and actively filling bowls with stuff.
I'll say the robot is more dynamic than the refrigerator, but today's appliances are super deluxe computers. You should see the refrigerators in some of these like luxury homes. They are, I mean, you feel like they could take Neil Armstrong to the moon in some kind of fridge.
Is that what Food Lion and Kroger are using?
I would not be surprised if the grocery stores start going. How hard is it to stock shelves? Travis Hackworth said this. Travis, are you watching today's program?
How hard is it? I mean...
Travis said this: if it can be repeated, it can be automated. That's the king of Danville. He watches our show all the time. It's a great line. That will stick in my craw for a long time. If it can be repeated, it can be automated. He's right.
It's a great line, but it's not exactly that simple.
How do you say stocking shelves? Take the stuff off the cart and put it on the shelf.
It's a gross oversimplification.
How is it a gross oversimplification?
Okay.
I would say stocking shelves is easier than making 3 tacos.
Okay, but have you seen a robot that has been developed to walk around with a shopping cart and put stuff back on shelves?
I haven't seen one.
It's a rather large jump from, yes, it can be done, to tomorrow Food Line is going to have a robot restocking shelves.
I did see a robot at 3 Notch Brewing Company go from the open kitchen and expo and deliver food to tables.
Yeah.
And 3 Notch Brewing Company certainly does not have the cash position of Kroger, Giant, Wegmans, Whole Foods. We're in agreement there, right?
Certainly.
3 Notch has got a robot that can go from, in the craft kitchen in Charlottesville, from the kitchen line to table 52, bringing some Philly cheesesteaks to a 6-top. You're telling me Food Lion can't get R2-D2 to get some tomato sauce on aisle 12?
If you think it's that simple, then maybe we'll be seeing it in a few weeks. Who knows? I don't think it's that simple. I think something carrying a tray from position A to one of positions B through H is a lot simpler than...
You're saying,
and what happens when your food is created wrong? Are you going to tell the robot, and it's going to go and speak to a manager robot?
Well, that's to be determined. Is the robot going, or is the order done on a kiosk, and then sent to the robot because the robot's programmed to the kiosk, and that's how the robot knows what to make? I would imagine that's how it would be done. They're trying to take away as much human capital out of the equation. Order on a kiosk, robot's programmed to the kiosk, robot makes the tacos, and you go pick up after you've paid on the kiosk. And if there's a mistake, maybe that's where the shift supervisor comes into play, where you talk to a human directly.
It sounds somewhat plausible.
You think stocking the shelves is more difficult than making the tacos if you're a robot? Making the tacos is way more difficult than stocking the shelves.
I don't think you understand the way robots work.
Picking up shredded cheese, a robot? Being able to decipher from 15 ramekins that are all next to each other on a line and having the dexterity to pick up shredded cheese from one ramekin and not pick up the shredded lettuce that's right next to the shredded cheese ramekin? That's way more challenging than taking some 16-ounce cans and putting in a tomato sauce cans and putting it on a shelf.
I disagree.
Oh, no way, Jose. No way, Jose.
You're talking about a grocery store with hundreds and probably thousands of different products.
Thousands. No doubt thousands. No doubt thousands. You have a robot per aisle. You have a robot program. Here, you're on aisle 10. You're programming the bags of chips. You get the cheddar and sour creams, and you put a row of them here on aisle 10. You get the sour creams, and you put them right next to the cheddar and sour creams. And don't forget those barbecue Fritos. Damn, those are good. Get a row of the barbecue Fritos. Stack them up. Maybe it's too much of the KISS method. Don't miss those barbecue Fritos.
I think you're crazy. Not to mention the fact that even if it was just an arm on a slider that slid along the aisle and could put something back. I mean, what happens when that thing knocks an old person over or grabs a kid by accident?
How's that any different than the drive-through attendant at McDonald's that served the piping hot coffee to the customer and it spilled all over their lap? You know what's going to happen.
Those two things are nothing alike.
My point is, stuff happens. That was the point of what I made. SHIT happens. It's going to happen. Yes, an old person's going to get knocked over by R2-D2 in aisle 10 when he's stacking the barbecue Fritos. Of course that's going to happen.
All right.
That's definitely going to happen. I can assure you, old people in aisle 10 have been knocked over by human shelf stockers too. You don't think someone's gotten knocked over by a human shelf stocker?
I mean, you make a compelling argument, Jerry.
Philip Dow watching the program, we've dubbed him Judah, the King of Scottsville. Maybe a little late on the topic. Speaking about the unemployed, I saw a young boy running up and down to try to get money from cars on a traffic light on Pantops. I went through the drive-thru and the manager happened to serve me. I asked him to go over and offer that man a job. He replied, I took him over an application for an employment twice, and each time he ripped up the application. Who are these people? I'm sure he really doesn't need the money.
A lot of those people make more money than someone working in a
McDonald's.
Yeah, lower tier job.
That's unfortunate. But Judah Wickower is exactly right. Panhandling often is going to generate more income than an entry-level position at McDonald's. Lisa Costello, as far as public safety on the anniversary of August 12th is concerned, shelter at home is what the public is usually advised to do if there's an active shooter in the community. No one was hurt on A12 who stayed at home. If people with differing views are determined to protest within 5 feet of one another and scream in each other's face, the situation can escalate. I don't.
That is a great point, and a point that I too often see ignored, is the fact that there were two groups.
Okay, I'm listening.
On August 12th.
Keep going. What's your point?
Well, for instance, there's something in the Daily Progress talking about no money, no planning, pulls plug on Unity Days. And there's a line in here where they say, they're talking about Unity Days, and they say the event commemorated the anniversary of the deadly white supremacist violence that occurred 2 years prior, and they're talking about the first Unity Days in 2019. And that's just, does anyone not see that as, what's the word I'm looking for, mentally, intellectually dishonest?
How so?
Deadly white supremacist violence.
How would you describe it?
Have you looked at pictures of the day?
I was there, dude.
Yeah.
Literally.
Then
in person, in front of this studio.
Then you of all
I
people-
lied to my wife.
Then you of all people should know that it was not a one-sided rampage through Charlottesville by deadly white supremacists.
I mean, there were a lot of white supremacists out here.
Yeah, there were also a lot of Antifa members who were
Yeah, there was a
bussed
ton
in.
of Antifa here. But unfortunately,
Point is-
the way the media works is they clung to Fields ramming his Charger into the crowd, killing Heather Heyer on A12 on 2nd Street. And that's what A12 is remembered for.
Okay.
And he was a white supremacist.
Let me go back and ask the question again. Is that if we are continuing with that narrative, are we not being intellectually dishonest?
So what is your point? I don't understand the point that you're making here.
My point is, conflict requires two groups.
So you're saying you have white supremacists and those who oppose them.
And Antifa.
Antifa was the one who opposed the white supremacists.
Both of the groups came from outside of Charlottesville. Am I mistaken?
Both of the groups were led by people from outside Charlottesville, yes.
Okay. It was two groups that caused
Two groups
the
that
conflict.
leveraged Charlottesville and used Charlottesville. Yes, that's what they did. Two groups outside of Charlottesville exploited and used Charlottesville and made us look terrible.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I would still say it was an event led by white supremacy. I mean, if there wasn't white supremacy here, Antifa wouldn't have come. If Richard Spencer hadn't have made this his mission or his platform, a UVA graduate, a white supremacist, Richard Spencer, if he hadn't have done that, Antifa wouldn't have come. Is it Antifa? Antifa? How do you say it? Do you know? I call it Antifa.
It's Antifa.
Antifa? Okay.
Because it's anti-fascist.
Fascist. Antifa wouldn't have come. I do give you what you said about, I do give you that Vinegar Hill was a worse day in Charlottesville history than 8/12.
Okay.
I give you that. I think you're all over that. Scott Aaronworth, welcome to the show. It's a good question, Scott. Lisa says, stay home, is what she says.
Yeah.
Stay home. Two other items out of the notebook.
Does anyone, I mean, have we had any presentiment of people coming to Charlottesville on August 12th to reenact the...
I don't know. I mean, what we knew about A11 and A12 beforehand was chatter on message boards that the proverbial you-know-what was going to hit the fan. So there was intel on online and on social media on message boards that this was going to happen.
Has there been anything on the anniversary? I know this is a significant one because it's 5 years, but...
I don't know. My common sense, you know, I'm a guy who utilizes common sense. My common sense meter, my common sense tracker or radar says milestone, same thing Carol Thorpe said. Carol Thorpe is a woman of common sense. It's a 5-year anniversary of a very ugly day in Charlottesville. If there's going to be something, it's going to be at a milestone anniversary when all the national media is going to cover the 5-year anniversary of the event. Just trying to utilize common sense. I got no intel.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm just, you know, I was asking if anything had happened on previous years, and...
Scott Aaronworth says, happy National Junk Food Day to you and J-Dubs. Kevin Yancey, welcome to the show. Thank you kindly for joining us. Bill McChenzie, welcome to the program. Thank you kindly for joining us.
A national day.
Yesterday was National Hot Dog Day.
I mean, I can see that. It's isn't it baseball season?
When is National Great Boss Day?
Oh, man. I can't believe no one has invented that day.
When is National Great Boss Day? Oh, man. This gave me pause for concern. Catherine Knott, the education reporter for the Daily Progress, just resigned. The Daily Progress is down to Ginny Bixby. covering news.
Soon, all articles to be written.
By the Associated Press, wire copy with nothing associated with Charlottesville. There's one news reporter at the paper of record for Charlottesville, Virginia. Her name is Ginny Bixby. In the last month, Allison Rabel and Catherine Knott have both quit the Daily Progress. My first job out of the University of Virginia was at the Daily Progress. I finished at the Daily Progress as one of the youngest editors in the history of the newspaper, if not the youngest. I know that business model. When I worked there, it was Media General, the company that took over for the Worrell family, the local family that owned the newspaper. Then it went Media General, Warren Buffett, Lee Enterprises. It's a mess. The paper of record has one news reporter for a community where University of Virginia is located within. That is a damning factoid or statistic. News keeps people honest, and they keep folks from doing sketchy stuff for fear of being called out amongst the public. We have one reporter, Ginny Bixby, for the newspaper of record in the news department. Last item out of the notebook. Many of you who watch this program know that we broker business deals. We are later today signing a new listing with the One Bridal Salon next to Shenanigans on West Main Street. Tentatively, the asking price is $125,000. One Bridal Salon on West Main Street next to Shenanigans. You will get more details on the I Love CVille Network from us. I want you to think about this before we close. Charlottesville is the second largest wedding capital on the East Coast behind Charleston. Charleston is number 1. Charlottesville is number 2. In the second largest wedding capital or wedding epicenter on the eastern seaboard, Charlottesville, Virginia, there is only 2, count them 2, bridal dress salons. And one of them is for sale.
I think I made a good point for why there aren't more of them around here.
No, I shot that point down.
Really?
And the point, how I shot it down
Really?
was, yes, my wife and I in the area, looking to get married in the area. 5 years ago, we went through this, and she ended up going to Northern Virginia for the dress shopping. There is market share and demand in this area for people who want to buy a dress and say yes to the dress in Charlottesville for a wedding in Charlottesville. There is also buyer demand for women who want to say yes to the dress and buy a dress in their hometown and go to a wedding outside the area as well. And at $125 asking for the type of revenue she's doing, this is a deal. More details coming up on this program as we sign the listing today and get the details to you, the viewer and listener, tomorrow and Monday. Kevin Yancey says all the major players involved in 812 are either in jail or broke, so I don't think you'll see anything happen. I say I hope I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I really, really, really hope you're right, Kevin Yancey. And I will bring my game. We'll get this business sold, my friend. Anything you want to add, Judah?
No, I think he has a good point, though. Organizing a bunch of people to come to Charlottesville and cause trouble, I think would alert somebody out there.
You hope. You got 24% of the police department vacant right now. You got
they're not the ones that would be finding out about it, though.
I mean, who would find out about it? Well, you talking about the FBI?
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe. I would hope the Charlottesville Police Department would look into message board chatter and communication about August 12th in Charlottesville. I mean, good God, how hard is it to put a Google keyword alert for Charlottesville on August 12th? right? You and I have done this before. You do a Google keyword, a Google alert for Charlottesville on August 12th, and every day that something mentioned on the internet about that, you get an alert about it from Google. Ain't that hard?
If you say so.
Am I wrong? I got a keyword alert on my name. Every time it's mentioned, I get an alert. In fact, I would encourage any viewer and listener of this program to have a keyword alert for your name on Google. Anytime your name is mentioned online, you get an alert. It's called common sense. Common sense. Bill McChenzie says local shops are luxury price. Back in the 80s and 90s, C.H. Williams was the go-to place on the downtown mall. All right, I mentioned this to everybody watching the program earlier in the week. Scott, have you watched The Bear yet on Hulu? Watch The Bear on Hulu. If you don't want to sign up for a monthly subscription, you can get a 30-day free trial of Hulu with an email account. It's 8 episodes, it's dynamite. Sign up for a 30-day free trial with Hulu and watch The Bear on Hulu. It showcases back of the house and restaurant life at a place called The Beef in Chicago, a sandwich shop, a deli in the Windy City. The show is dynamite. It's dynamite. It stars Lip from Shameless on Showtime. Get a free trial of 30 days with your email account and watch the show. All right, Judah Wickhauer, Jerry Miller. It's the I Love CVille Show on a Thursday. You guys have a good afternoon. Take care.